All right, Captain Mike here with BTC Fishing, Boat Trash Charters. Had some questions recently when I mentioned Carolina rigs for redfish. Had a few questions about exactly what I mean. It's a very simple rig. You'll use it in various applications. I use it when I'm fishing redfish. Same type of rig I use when I'm fishing snapper. So I'm gonna show you a real basic Carolina rig, guys. So what we start with, from the main line, you slide your sinker on here. This is a 1/2 ounce, and I'll do anything up to 1.5 ounce, depending on the current. I want it to be able to hold to the bottom. So the more current, the more weight, but I prefer to use as little as possible. After that, I'll slide onto my main line some kind of bead, plastic bead, glass bead, whatever you want. You don't have to do this step, but I prefer it. I feel like it makes the knots last longer. So then you tie on a swivel to your main line. So the weight, the bead, then the swivel gets tied on. From your other end of the swivel, I use 30-pound mono for redfish. I'll do a 18-inch leader to a 2/0 Kale hook, which is an offset hook. You'll also see them called wide gap croaker hooks from time to time, and that's what I'm talking about. So guys, this is a very basic Carolina rig. Hope that helps you out. If you have any more questions, let us know and I'll show you what we're talking about. And don't forget to subscribe and catch our next Thursday forecast. Okay, so we just showed you a Carolina rig. I like to use that with live bait, dead bait, anytime I can. If I'm fishing around somewhere where there's a lot more rocks, I'm fishing around a jetty or rock piles or anything else, I like to switch over. You tend to hang that Carolina rig up and you lose a lot of them. So what I like to use then is another very simple rig. I call it, it's a version of a dropper rig. All right, so what happens with the dropper rig? First thing I do is I take about a 18-inch, about a 24 to 30-inch piece of leader. This is 30-pound monofilament. Very first thing I do is slide a swivel onto it. Then at one end, I'll tie a number 2 Kale hook, more of a shrimp-sized hook. And then on the opposite end, I'll tie my sinker. This is a 1/4 ounce pyramid sinker, but I'll tie whatever if I need to step up to a 1/2 ounce. Once again, I want to use as light a weight as possible so I can feel, but I want to use a heavy enough weight to counter the current so it holds the bottom. So once I have these 3 things tied up, I'll hold the swivel and I'll kind of eyeball where I want this hook to be in relation to the weight. You want the weight lower than the hook. So once I have it figured out, that looks about good to me, I'll take the top end and I'll just do a overhand knot. I'm gonna pass it through there 3 times. Once, twice, 3 times. I'm gonna pull it, oh, got hung up. I'm gonna pull it tight. It's gonna make a little loop there at the top holding the swivel. So it's got 2 arms. It's got the leg with the hook and the leg with the weight. So this way, as this thing sits on the bottom, the hook stays up off of the rocks a little better. If anything, you're gonna snag the bottom with this weight, which isn't a big deal. Usually you can pop it out of that snag, or if anything, the weight breaks free and you just tie another one on. So this is our dropper rig to use around live or dead bait around a rockier structure. All right, guys, I've showed you my 2 favorite bottom fishing rigs, the Carolina rig, which is my go-to, and then the dropper rig if there's more bottom structure around and I'm getting snagged with the Carolina rig. So there's a 3rd rig I'm gonna show you I like to use when I'm fishing with bait. This is usually a live bait rig, not a dead bait rig. But it's for situations where you want to suspend a bait, at a given depth, and it's too deep for you to just tie on a leader. So let's say I'm fishing one of the Freemason or curlew barges. It's about 14 feet deep. I don't want to fish on the bottom because those trout are suspended. So I want to fish a bait at, say, 11 feet. In order to do that, I couldn't just tie on an 11-foot leader underneath a cork. It would be too much leader. I wouldn't be able to cast it. I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. So in that situation, we use what I'm going to show you. We use a slip cork rig. So how this thing works, and it's a little bit complicated, so try to stay with me, is you're going to take your main line, and the first thing you're going to do is slide on one of these slip knot rigs. You buy these at the store. They're already like this. You slide the plastic tube onto your main line. Behind that, the same package will come with some very small beads. So next is a small bead. Then you put a bigger bead, a hollow cork, any kind of cork that you can just run a line through unweighted, a bead behind the cork, and then your egg weight. This is a 1/2 ounce egg weight, all right? Followed by a swivel. So all these things are on the line. Once you get everything on the line and your swivel tied on, you can set your slip knot. So this plastic piece is sitting on there, and you would just push the plastic piece out from the inside, tighten the knot on your main line, and it would sit there, and then you trim the ends off, and it's going to look like this when you're done. This is our stopper knot, our slip knot, okay? So what you do now is you've got it all tied up. On the other end, you make yourself an 18 to 20 inch leader. I like a number 2 Kale hook, all right, when I'm using live bait, and I'm good. The rig sits just like this when I want to cast it, okay? Back up if you can see. All right, so if I want to set a bait and I want to fish a bait at 8 feet, what I'm going to do is slide this little knot to wherever 8 feet is. So when this bait is cast and it hits the water, the cork and everything is going to slide up to the stopper knot, and my rest of my rig is going to hang down to the desired depth. So that's how it is, and I can adjust this by just simply sliding the knot wherever I want it. When I cast it, I only have to deal with an 18 inch leader or 20 inch leader, and then when it hits the water, it floats up and hits the stopper knot, and that's how wherever I set the depth. So this is a slip cork rig. If you've never used one, it's a very effective rig to present live bait deeper in the water column and target those suspended fish.